Hi guys, thanks for joining All Things Amy today. Today we're going to go through a step-by-step, but very quickly, so you can watch this and do it along with the video, to make sourdough bread in a Dutch oven, starting with the moment someone gives you your starter, or if you've made your own starter. All right, so we're going to start with a half a cup of starter. That's all you need to start this journey. First thing you're going to do is feed your starter by adding 1 cup of flour, and a half of a cup of water. I like to use filtered water. That's it. And then stir it very well, and it will be a very stiff and sticky dough, kind of a peanut butter texture. Now cover it with the lid to your container or a plastic wrap. Okay, now here is where you make your first decision. Are you making bread today? Or are you going to wait a day, a week, 2 weeks? If you want to make the bread today, we're going to let that sit on the counter for 2 to 4 hours, and you'll watch it double or triple in size. And then we'll go from there. If you aren't going to make it today, simply put it in the fridge. You'll leave this in the fridge until you're ready to make the bread. You'll go ahead and pull it out and let it sit on the counter for a couple of hours to let it rise a bit, and then do exactly the process you're about to learn in this next part of the video. If you're not ready to make the bread in a couple of weeks, but you want to keep your starter healthy, you want to feed it. So in a couple of weeks, pull it out, take everything out of the starter except for a half of a cup, just like you started with. Throw that away and add again the cup of flour and a half a cup of water. Cover it. Put it back in the fridge until you're ready to use it for making bread, or until you're ready to feed it again if you're still waiting to make the bread. Here is the starter we fed a couple of hours ago. Look how beautiful it is. It's about tripled in size, and it is ready for us to make our bread. So we're going to start that process. Scoop all of it out except for 1/2 cup of starter. Leave in that container. And I'm going to go ahead and feed this starter and get it in the fridge, and then we'll start the bread. So we've got that 1/2 cup of starter left in this container. We're going to feed it like we did before. Then we're going to go to this other big bowl and make the bread. 1 cup of flour in our starter, just like we did before, and a 1/2 cup of filtered water. And then stir it well until it's that peanut butter texture. Cover this with saran wrap or the lid, if the container has a lid, and put it in your fridge until you're ready to make bread another day. Now to the starter that we're using to make our bread. Add 2 cups of cold water to the starter. The second cup is just a little scant, so a little less than 2 cups. Okay guys, now just mix that up. It's kind of a loose mix. You'll see some clumps still, but that will get incorporated in this next mix. So now add 4 cups of flour and 2 teaspoons of salt. That's all it takes to make yummy sourdough bread. Mix this and mix this and mix it until all the flour is incorporated into the liquid, and it's kind of this rough ball. Cover it with a wet dish towel and wait 30 minutes, and then we're going to do the stretch and folds. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes, and I'm going to get my hands a little wet with water, and then you're going to take the first corner and lift it and stretch it. Don't tear the dough, and then fold it. Turn this and go at each corner of the dough. Stretch and fold, and basically we are tightening this dough up. So it gets a little harder each time you turn it to get a stretch out of it until you finally really can't stretch it at all. Perfect. Now cover it again and wait 30 more minutes. Okay, now we're going to do the stretch and fold one more time. It's getting the dough tighter and tighter, so it gets a little harder to do it. But just keep working it out until this final stretch and fold, and then turn it over, and we're going to now let it rise for several hours. It could take 3 hours or 8 hours. It just depends on the temperature and various things about the sourdough. So just cover it and start letting it rise. I ended up letting it go all night because it's kind of a cold day and it took a while to rise. But there you have it. Now just flour your surface and pull that dough out of the bowl. And then flour both sides. And then now we're going to just shape the dough before the final rise. There's so many different ways to do this. This is my favorite one I have found. Just roll it up one direction, turn it and roll it the other direction. Makes it super tight, and then just form it into a big roll. You'll have that seam at the bottom and keep that top part smooth. And it just gets tighter and tighter. Now take some parchment paper and spray it with some cooking spray and place the dough in the center. This is the final rise before we cook it, and it will take about 2 to 5 hours for this rise. Place it in a bowl on the parchment paper and then put a wet towel over the top again. If you'd like to do your final rise in a banten, I'll leave a link below for you to watch that video. It took about 3 hours for this final raise. It's about double the size, and now we're going to score it with a razor, but you can use a sharp knife if you don't have a razor. We have preheated the oven to 475, and now you gently take that parchment paper to lift up the dough and set it in. Put the lid on, and we're going to cook this at 475, first of all, for 30 minutes with the lid on. And now take the lid off and cook for 20 more minutes, still leaving the oven at 475. Take it out of the oven and put it on a cooling rack for at least an hour before you cut into it. This is so soft and chewy on the inside and so crunchy on the outside. It is delicious. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Remember, all things done with love.